Hello. Yep. Thanks, Tang. So, good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone is energized with their tea break. So, for our session, would like to welcome you all to our session of engaging your audience with story maps. I am Kat de la Cruz, and I'm co-hosting with Marcus Choi. For our agenda, we'd like to cover this route ahead of us. We're gonna discuss what are story maps, what are the available apps and templates that we can use. We'll also show you some examples on how others created their story maps. We'll create our very own story maps and show you what's new this year for story maps and some tips and tricks on how to create a story map. So let's get started. What are story maps? What do we mean when we say story maps? Story maps are simple web apps that are single purpose. They are a combination of interactive maps published on ArcGIS Online with multimedia content such as your photos, audios, videos, and text. They are meant to inform, educate, entertain, and inspire users all around the world. Most of the story maps are hosted by Esri in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about maintaining your own servers, but you can still host them yourself if you want to. For me, this is the key thing about story maps. Story maps includes a builder functions that enables you to build a beautiful and sophisticated story with no GIS or web development skills needed. Story maps are also open source. There are source codes available in GitHub via Esri website. You are at most welcome to download them. In fact, Esri urges users to do it, as we love to see it when a story map is being tweaked, improved, and customized. In addition, story maps also includes an array of apps that provides different user experience for telling different kinds of stories. So Esri thought about how people use maps and how maps can be used to support storytelling. So they have come up with different models or templates so that you can release your apps into creating a beautiful story map. For example, if you want to show sequential narratives or if you want to present points of interest, so you can use this app so that you can show your audience a beautiful story map. Now that we know what story maps are, let's take a look at the available apps and templates that we can use. Let's start with the simplest one, the Story Map Basic. Story Map Basic is a very minimalist approach and interface. Let your map speak for itself. The users can just click on the features and they can get more information in the pop-up window. Another template that we have is the Story Map Tour, which is good for a sequence of place-enabled photos. Or if you are presenting a linear place-based narrative content featuring images or videos. Each point in the map is geolocated or geotagged. Your users has the option to click sequentially. They can also interact with the map and use the thumbnail carousel at the bottom. Story Map Tour is very ideal if you want to show your audience a walking tour or if you want them to follow a sequence of order. The next two templates that we have is good if you are showcasing a rich multimedia narrative content. The first one is the Story Map Journal. It's ideal if you want to combine narrative text with maps and other embedded content. Each section in the Story Map Journal has an associated maps, images, videos, or even your web page. Another template that we have for rich multimedia narrative would be the Story Map Cascade. If you want to create a visually, editorially engaging, full screen scrolling experience, this is the right template for you to use. It has an immersive sections that fill the screen with your maps, 3D scenes, images, and also videos. Easy for people to navigate as well. And actually, right in front of your eyes, our presentation is actually using the Story Map Cascade template. Now, if you're presenting large number of maps, you can take advantage of the Story Map series, which comes in 3 different layouts. What we have first is the Story Map series tab layout, which present your maps via a set of tabs, and you can have an optional description panel for presenting text. We also have the Story Map series side accordion layout, which presents your maps and accompanying text and contents in, and map in an expandable panel. So when your users click the title, it will reveal the map or it will reveal the images and show you the associated text with the title. Another one that we have is the Story Map series bulleted layout, which present your maps via numbered bullet, one map per bullet, and it's a good choice if you're presenting a large number of maps. Another template that is available is the Story Map shortlist. So for the other one, if you're presenting large number of maps, the Story Map series is very good template. This one, Story Map shortlist, is very good if you're presenting large number of places or points of interest. You can organize your points of interest into tabs based on themes. And as the users navigate around the map, the tabs will also auto-update and show them just the places in the current map extent. Comparing two maps is also very easy with these two templates ahead. The first one that we have is the Story Map Swipe. Let your users compare two separate web maps or two layers of a single map by sliding the swipe tool back and forth. They can also use the Story Map Spyglass. It is similar to the Map Swipe, but it enables your users to peer through one map to another with the use of the Spyglass tool. And of course, we always encourage our users to customize our Story Map templates based on your requirements and needs. I'd like to pass the stage to Marcus, and he'll show you a quick demonstration on how to create a story map.
Thank you, Catalaya. So now let's create our own story map. To begin, we can head over to our Story Maps Gallery section, where you can see some of the story maps that our community has created. From there, you can get some ideas and get inspired and see how you would like to portray your story. Following which, choose a suitable story map application template. Here you can see and decide on which is the most ideal template to help you best tell your story. Next, follow the instructions for the application you choose. Some applications have detailed tutorials, while some have just some simple steps to get you started. Finally, once your story map is ready, publish your story and promote it. It is as simple as sharing the web link to your customers and clients, or you can embed the story map onto your own websites. For the demo this afternoon, we have a simple scenario talking about adults seeking parenting advice on how to take care of their kids. So let's create our story map. Here I have the My Content tab for my organization. Under My Content, I can just head over to Create, under App, using a template. There's a wide selection of templates I can choose from. Here I'm going to build a story map. And for today's demo, it will be the Story Map Cascade. Create web app. Let's add some information. Adding some text will help our users to find our story map better. Once the information is in, press Done. And here we have it. Our story map is ready. Let's add some information. So in today's demonstration, we'll be talking about Singapore Family Services in Singapore. Adding some subtext. This is to help forge closer communities here in Singapore. Let's try adding an image. Here there are many options you can choose from. Today we'd like to showcase Unsplash. Unsplash is a curated collection of high-quality imagery that you can use for your story maps. It is as simple as searching something relevant by typing in Singapore, looking through the selection, and finding something that we like. So let's choose this photo. Now our cover section is ready. Let's add another section for our story map. So in the next section, let's talk about the mission. Our mission will be to nurture a resilient and caring society that can overcome challenges together. Once again, under Add Media, we can use Unsplash to find something suitable. Since we are on the topic of family, let's see what Unsplash can give us. Here we have a wide selection. Let's pick this mother-daughter photo, which looks good. Now we have our first content ready. For the next section, let's add more our scenario, which we have mentioned earlier. So the scenario is as such: adults seeking parenting advice on how to take care of their kids. And since we are talking about people facing problems, let's try searching for something relevant. This photo looks like a young adult in deep thought. Let's try this image. There we have it. Now let's try adding something different from images. Besides adding images, we can also add web maps. So heading over to the ArcGIS tab, we have the My Content tab. We can see some of the web maps that we have prepared earlier for this demo. Let's choose the Family Services All. And this provides an overview for our viewers on all the family services locations here in Singapore. Continuing our story, let's add some text. Now to move on to our next section. So for this, let's zoom in on our scenario mentioned earlier. Once again, adding media, we have another web map prepared for this situation. So here, we have a simulation of the scenario where the red star represents a housing unit and a 1 kilometer buffer to show where are the closest family service locations this family have access to. Adding another section. Besides heading to the closest family service center, families can also leverage on the community clubs that we have here in Singapore. Community clubs usually have something suitable across all ages. Adding another media. So we have another web map that we have prepared to show an overview of all the community clubs we can find here in Singapore. Providing one more alternatives to families. In the next section, we're going to try to add something different. Besides adding web maps and images, we can also link content. So here I have a link. This link is for another story map that we have created earlier. Giving it some time to load, we can see how we embed a story map within a story map. Most of these tourist attractions are suitable for the whole family, making them optimal choices for family outings. Last but not least, let's add a credit section. Now that all the content for our story map is ready, we can go ahead and adjust the sharing settings. As we want to reach as many people as we can, we will be using public. We also like to take a quick look over here. Here you can toggle the autoplay mode, which is very useful if you intend to show your story map at a public kiosk or in a public location where you have a TV that's constantly playing your story map. Once the story map is ready, remember to save your work. It is recommended to use the story title for your story map. And let's take a look at our newly created story map. Here we have it, the cover page talking about Singapore Family Services. And the story goes as how we talk about the mission of Singapore Family Services. Next, we talk about the scenario that we've mentioned, following which an overview of all the family services available in Singapore. And we show how the scenario is applied with the closest family service locations. Next, we have alternatives such as community clubs and also attractions around Singapore. Last but not least, our credit section. And now to head back to our presentation story map. So here we have seen how we can create a story map. And here is a demonstration of how the autoplay mode works. Now I'll hand the presentation back to Catalea.
Thanks, Marcus. So actually, as you can see, or as you notice, story map is very easy to create. For example, Marcus is working as an employee in Singapore Family Services, and he has no background about GIS or no background about web development, but he was still able to create his very own web application with just few clicks away. Would like to leave these tips and tricks before you create a story map. Try adding a story map within the story map, just like what Marcus demonstrated. His original template was a story map cascade, and then towards the end, he embedded another story map, which is the story map tour. Take advantage of that functionality. We would also recommend for you to optimize your story map. If you're embedding images, try to increase the resolution if you're showing it to a huge crowd. Always test on variety of screen sizes and devices. If you're presenting it on your customers and they want to view it in iPad or mobile devices, always try it first. And get a fresh eyes to review your story. It's always good to have a feedback or someone to check out your story first, and then you can revise your story map again. And always choose the right templates, maybe based on your data, your requirements, and your needs as well. From here, we would like for you to visit the storymaps.rgs.com. Please also take a look at or visit the story maps gallery. There are hundreds of story map example that you can take a look and get an inspiration. It's categorized into templates. You can also take a look at the subjects or per industry. And maybe you'll be interested as well with the customized, some examples of a customized story maps. When you visit storymaps.rgs.com, you can create your own stories, manage your stories, and we would like for you to submit your very own story maps to our gallery. Sometimes Esri is conducting some story maps contest, and maybe your next story map will be featured in our Esri gallery as well. And if you want to learn more, we have a specialized training for Story Map. It's creating story maps with ArcGIS. It's a one-day course. Our next schedule would be on October 1st, October 2nd, and also we have it on November 2nd as well. Our solution mix, the template that we are using for our presentation is the Story Map Cascade template. And before you leave this room, we would like for you to remember and we would like to leave a quote that great stories can happen to those who can tell them. Thank you very much for attending this session, and we hope that you have a nice day ahead.
Thank you, Katleya and Marcus. Do you have any questions?
Stick.
Hi,
Hi.
it was really nice. Can we add any table or bar graphs into it if you want to? Or there can be any pop-ups or something like that as well?
Actually, what we suggest if you have a bar graph or some pop-ups in your web maps, try also using the operations dashboard, which has a lot of graphs, column bar graphs that you can use, and then embed it in your story map afterwards.
Okay. Okay. So from dashboard we can actually take it from.
Yeah, linked it to the story map afterwards.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
That's it.
No, no, one more.
Hi. May I know if the maps are interactive?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
You can actually have the option if you want your audience to interact with the map that, for example, our story map, our presentation is in Cascade, and for every app, for every template that I showed you, it's interactive. You have the option to turn that on and off as well.
Any more questions?
Sorry, this is a very layman's question, but aside from the interactiveness of the maps, what would you say the benefits are of building a sort of a slide deck in story maps versus doing it in PowerPoint?
So there's a lot of functionality about story maps. It's a very good template. It's sophisticated as well. So if you are also actually we want our users to take advantage if you have a lot of web maps to present. So instead of putting it in your PowerPoint, which I don't think you can, I'm not sure if you can make it interactive except if you add a URL. So if you have a lot of web maps, try using our story maps so that they get to browse or they get to interact with the web maps as well within the story that you are creating.